The numero uno, the number one doctor I've ever had on the show. So no pressure, but there's a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, that's an honor. Wow, that's exciting.
Yes. This is big news. This is big news.
You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living. That is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
Hey! Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Swadik Mayanja, but you guys can call me Q, and we are on another episode of the Everyday Heroes Show, where I bring to you someone in your life or someone in my life that brings us joy, happiness, and good things all around, but does not get the credit they deserve. Today we have Alissa. Alissa, I'd like to tell you, you are the very first, the numero uno, the number one doctor I've ever had on the show. So no pressure, but there's a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, that's an honor. Wow, that's exciting.
Yes. This is big news. This is big news. I'm super happy that I finally get a doctor. I've had a ton. I've had like 4 or 5 pre-med. I'm in med school. I'm going through the process, but hasn't even gotten into like residency. But you are the first official, set, ready to go. I'm in it like doctor.
Okay.
And I'm excited. I'm excited. So
I'm excited.
Why don't you tell me and the people at home, who are you and where are you from?
Sure. My name's Alissa. I'm originally from Linfield, Massachusetts. So I'm local.
So
yeah.
local, real local. Linfield, huh?
Yeah.
Good for you.
And I am in my first year of residency training right now. I'm doing a prelim year in internal medicine at Leahy, which is where we met.
Woot woot, go Leahy, love y'all.
And then I'll be doing the rest of my residency in physical medicine and rehabilitation at Spalding. So that's 3 years.
That's 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 years, counts as 1 and then 2 years at Spalding? Or
3 years at Spalding.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus Lord. All right, so good. So I'm happy you said that. I want to get to the actual education process because I think that's super important. Because even me, I'm a nurse, obviously, you guys know that, but it blows my mind. Some doctors I talk to at Leahy, I'm like, yeah, I'm in my 5th year, 6th year, 8th year, 9th year, 12th. I'm like, why? All right, but we'll get there. So let's just start from the beginning. From when you were this high. I know being a doctor is every parent's dream this side of the world, right? So was it your decision? Did you want to do this? Was this something your parents pushed onto you? Are your parents doctors? Why did you decide you wanted to become an MD?
So no one in my family's in medicine. So
You're lying.
No, yeah.
Medicine's very hereditary. So that's amazing. Good for you.
So I'm the first one. And my parents definitely didn't push it at all. It was me.
Okay.
I didn't know I didn't decide that I wanted to do medicine until high school, when they were saying, okay, you're going to college now. What do you want to study? What do you want to be? Like, you need to figure out your career. And that's really when I started thinking about it. And it's been a constant reflection. Like, I keep asking myself at every stage, like in college, do I still want to be pre-med? Do I still want to go to medical school? And even now, there are other options outside of practicing clinical medicine. But I love clinical medicine, so I'm not at this stage. I'll probably do some things outside, but I think I'll always keep my clinical medicine career.
Well, good for you. I'm not. So I have to press. What's the why? Like, what made you decide? Like, when? Because I feel like I knew, like, because it just comes to me. But like, why? So what's the why? What made you decide? If you can even remember.
Yeah, no, I do remember. I really like helping people. I like taking care of people. As the oldest sibling, my little siblings were born when I was in high school, so I spent a lot of time taking care of them.
You got a babysitter. Free of pay.
Yeah, it was
free of pay.
Yeah. But
I know the struggle.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I loved it. And I love taking care of people, and I really love helping people. And
Good for you.
It was naturally something that I'm drawn to. And then I love math and science and problem solving.
So it just kind of fit.
So yeah, I mean, I thought I considered engineering briefly.
Okay.
But I think I was just too far removed from the population I was serving. I like to be interacting with the people.
Fair enough, and I could definitely see that because I too love my STEM, math, sciences, and all that stuff. Everything except for physics. Fuck physics. But but like I like my sciences, and like obviously I do these YouTube videos. I feel like I love talking to human beings. So I feel like healthcare is a win. It's like it's caring. It's like you're in people's face and you get to do good things. I love it. So So let's get into the school process. I need you to break this down, like as simple as you can. What is the mandatory schooling that you need to become a doctor, and then what is the extra stuff that doctors choose when they want to specialize? I want you to really break that down, and where are you in the process?
Okay. And this is in the U.S.
Yes, no. Let's stick to the U.S. Of course, yes, strictly
so,
U.S. Let's do U.S. and then people can extrapolate.
So in the U.S., you have to go to college first, so a 4-year degree. So I did a bachelor's in brain and cognitive sciences.
That was your bachelor's?
Yeah.
Brain and cognitive sciences?
Yes.
It's just not keeping up. My God.
Yeah.
Were you a good student in high school? Like straight A's all the way through?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a
There's
valedictorian.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Holla back. All right. Well, good for you.
So I did my bachelor's at MIT.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
And
wait,
then
really?
yeah.
Can we pause? Can we just pause? You can't just breeze over that. MIT is a serious deal. That's real talk.
Yeah, it was.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to have Alissa on the show. Okay, I just like to say that this is the real deal. Congratulations!
Thank you. It was a really wonderful opportunity, and I have had a really positive experience.
All right, so bachelor's in MIT in brain
and cognitive sciences.
Brain and cognitive sciences, and then?
And that kind of actually, I'm just going to say, that laid the foundation for a lot of things that I later went on to do, because I'm interested in traumatic brain injury as my subspecialty, so I was already thinking about that back then. I started doing some work with the brain injury community when I was at MIT, and that kind of fed into, well, we can get into that. But so then medical school is 4 years. So you do the bachelor's in 4 years. Sometimes people take an extra year or two. Sometimes they apply straight into medical school. I just applied straight into medical school.
And you got it?
Yeah. So
where'd you go to medical school, if you don't mind me?
I was at Stanford.
The bee's knees. The bee's knees. You guys, when I say I have an everyday hero, I have a goddamn everyday hero. So MIT and Stanford. All right, so medical school. Is it 4 years of being in the classroom? Is it 1 year of classroom time, clinical time? Is it 3 years of what is medical school?
So it's 2 years of classroom.
Okay.
And they're kind of changing it at some schools. So sometimes they've condensed that into a year and a half. And then it's 2 years of clinical rotation.
So I know. So when I have talked to my previous the med school students, right? They always told me that like the way med school works is that like it's super difficult to get into med school, but once you're into med school, the vast majority of people finish. Is this true, or is it like everyone? Because I know when I had a lawyer on once, and they said a shit ton of people get into law school, but then a shit ton of people come out of law school because it's super difficult. But like I feel like med school is different because they want the best of the best, and once you're in there, you usually get through, and they give 1 second chance, and if you fail again a third time, you get out. How is that generally, not specifically for Stanford, but generally, is that how?
Yeah, most people finish med school.
Okay.
If they want to.
Yeah.
And I'd say most people want to. Most people want to.
Because like I know like the criteria for getting into certain colleges is super difficult, but med school is like, tippy top. Like if you want to be a doctor, an MD, like you gotta have your shit together. And that's probably a lot of people also take that gap year because they want to do like humanitarian work to boost up their resume. Because sometimes their just education background is just not good enough. It just doesn't meet the criteria. So I always found that med students, not even if they finish or become doctors or whatever they do after they get their degree, I feel like med students are like already like, they're getting their shit done.
Yeah,
which is,
they have to.
Of course, you have
to.
You really have to. All right, so in med school, right? So I know you said that some schools do it differently. So you said 2 years of actual classroom time and 2 years of clinical time.
Yeah.
2 years of clinical time. Are you not taking any tests or studying any of that stuff, or is it strictly like in the field?
You do both. So you do rotations. So you'll do like an internal medicine rotation, a general surgery rotation, neurology rotation, and then you have what's called a shelf exam.
What's that?
At the end, it's just a test. It's it's a test for that.
Is it nationwide? Is it every college, or is it specific colleges do it, specific don't?
All medical students, or all medical schools have shelf exams. Yeah.
Okay. And then for when in this process do you get to decide? I want to be internal medicine. I want to do traumatic brain. When do you have to make that decision?
So you apply for residency it's like summer before your 4th year.
Okay, so you've done at least a couple of clinical like rotations prior to actually having to make that decision.
Yeah, and I didn't talk about extra stuff that people do. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will do extra years during medical school, so it's actually longer than 4 years that they're there.
Oh, okay.
So like some people would do, like, I guess the extreme would be an MD PhD, which would take 7 years.
Okay, so let's break that down because I don't understand the difference between an MD and a DO and all of that.
Oh, sure.
Because it sounds like a lot of schools, so I would hate to compare it to like PT and chiropractors, which is very, very different. But like, is that like the intention? Like less medicine?
So osteopathic medicine is not necessarily less medicine, and I don't want to, I mean, I want to make sure I like I said, I didn't do that training, so I can't speak to it quite as well. But they, like, chiropractic came from osteopathic medicine. Like, they took some of the techniques, I think, from osteopathic medicine and made that. So if that can give you kind of a flavor.
It could give me a flavor, but, like, it's super different. Like, I just want to make sure y'all know it's super different, because chiropractors, I actually just don't believe in chiropractors, and I don't not believe in DOs. I think DOs are doctors. Good for you. You're doing your shit. You're like, evidence-based practice. You follow medicine. But chiropractors, I feel like that's a different ballgame.
I don't have anything against chiropractic.
You don't have anything.
I've actually
that's a conversation we might have to talk about, because I just do.
You have a strong opinion about that.
I have a very strong opinion about chiropractors. I just believe it's like, I really think it's just bullshit artistry. Like, yes, I'm gonna massage your back and pull your leg and twist your neck, and I just feel like.
Have you been to a chiropractor before?
No, but I've had some serious issues, and I went for like. So it wasn't like, I say no because I went for like literally one visit. And it was like the things that they were telling me is like the things I hear people tell me, like, you should use this herbal supplement and rub it on your left toe and then sleep on your right side and things. I'm like, oh, no.
I think there's a lot of variability.
Of course
in chiropractors.
Yes, of course.
I've been to some who are very helpful. I actually had a pretty bad hip problem back in college. And I went to... Yeah, go ahead.
Was this... Did you ever run competitively, or was this?
I played soccer back in high school.
Oh, okay.
I did run track, but I wasn't that good at track. It was my off-season sport. But I ran a lot for soccer, and I developed a hip issue, and none of the orthopedic doctors I went to were able to help. And I had a lot of steroid injections, and a lot of, like, I went to a few doctors, and then the chiropractor that I ended up going to eventually, after like 3 years, did a series of adjustments over a few months, and I don't have that problem anymore. Yeah.
Real talk.
Yeah.
So I just want, I'm happy that this is happening, because this is a doctor I'm talking to, and she's, I don't want to say legitimizing all of chiropractor, but like, I'm just saying, she's saying that it worked for you personally, and you know what's necessary to treat human beings. So I think it is helpful to know that at least you had a positive experience, and it has to be working some way somehow, because millions of people go to chiropractors still to this day, right? It's my personal bias, so I'll take full credit of that, but we'll get back to that. Okay, but so an MD PhD, what is that?
So an MD PhD would be, you apply to a joint program where you go in knowing you're going to do an MD and a PhD. So all that's required of a PhD, the research years, publishing your research, doing really high quality academic research.
And I know at most hospitals, getting some research done and getting published, or even at most universities, it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. Is that something you care about, look forward to? Is that something, or because you seem very clinical, like you just, listen, you just seem like, I want to be patient care. So is that something you have a focus on? Is that a side thing that if it happens, great?
I think that research is something I'm interested in, definitely.
Okay.
I haven't done it as much, though.
Okay.
I definitely haven't done it as much as...
Do you plan on getting your PhD?
No.
No. See, fair enough. Don't. I'm just gonna let you. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Because you can still do research without getting a PhD. You
can.
Course.
As an MD, certainly.
So just don't do it. Just do the research.
Well, I mean, MD PhDs do more translational research versus I want to do more clinical research, I think.
Oh, okay.
So
and
depending
what is
on the
translation research?
Translational research, so some of them do more like bench to bedside, so more like in a wet lab, in a wet lab.
Yes. Okay.
Like molecular biology level research.
Okay.
Or translational would mean kind of that type of research with also the intent of turning it into actual treatments for patients. So focus on a clinical outcome.
Yes. Can I ask you a question? I don't even know if you would know the answer to this, but are MDs considered scientists? Like, is that a thing? I always considered a scientist someone who does research, like, and just try to find.
Yeah.
So, like, would MDs be considered scientists?
I mean, I think anyone can be a scientist.
Well,
right?
don't
It's kind of like
disrespect
well, it's right. It's a little bit of you're imposing a label on something, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, I was a brain and cognitive sciences. I have a
Major,
bachelor's
yes,
in
of
that,
course.
so does that make me a scientist? I don't know, right?
That's a good question.
So,
like, how do you decide what a scientist really
yeah,
is?
so I don't know. I think that's a more like a person-dependent thing.
No.
I consider myself a scientist.
I do too. Yeah, no,
but
good for you. I agree.
So MD PhDs are often called, like, if people want to be a physician scientist,
Okay.
which would be really someone who has a very heavy focus on research. and more of a minimal clinical part of their career.
Wonderful. All right, perfect. All right, so when in your process in school, so I'm sorry we went down that rabbit hole. When in your time in, so you said the end of second year you have to decide.
End of third year.
End of third year is when you have to decide what you want to do, right? What you want to specialize, if you are going to specialize, right? If you decide you don't want to specialize, you just done your 4 years and you Gucci.
No, you need to do residency training if you want to if you want to practice as a clinician.
So residency training is a necessity, but it's not.
If you want to practice medicine
if
as
you
a
want,
clinician.
of course, if you want to practice, okay, so you have to choose something. Like, you must choose something at the end of your third year, right?
Yeah.
And what's the shortest? What is the easiest thing? I don't want to say easy.
What's the shortest track?
Exactly to getting into the field?
The shortest residencies are 3 years long.
Jeez,
so
mercy, God damn it!
Yeah, that's why we're so old. Like, yeah, that's why.
God,
so
that's so much school.
Yeah, it's a lot of training. So the shortest ones would be like emergency medicine. Internal medicine is also 3 years.
Emergency medicine is short.
It's 3 years.
I mean, well, it's 3 years. Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like emergency medicine. Okay, but that's not like emergency trauma surgery. I'm going.
No, not the surgeons. The surgeons train longer.
Of course they do. Yeah, we'll get to that because Grey's Anatomy is the reason I became a nurse. So.
Oh, really?
I love Grey's Anatomy. That shit was. Well, I'm lying. I loved Grey's Anatomy. I stopped after Derek died. I was like, why am I watching? Wait, spoiler alert. Happened in 2008. Oh my
I'm sorry. No, it's really funny. Last week I just watched the first couple episodes. I haven't watched it since high school. I don't remember it. Yeah.
Welcome.
Anyways, but I didn't know he died. So now I just can't
Jesus
watch
Lord,
it anymore.
Jesus Lord, I'm sorry. But yeah, no. So, okay. So internal medicine, emergency medicine, that's 3 years, right?
Those are 3 years.
What track did you choose, and how long is that track?
Yeah, so I'm going to physical medicine rehabilitation, which I'm going to break that down because a lot of people don't know what it is.
Yes.
It's a field that focuses on restoring function for people, often after a trauma. So there's a neuro-rehabilitation component of the field, which focuses on spinal cord injury and traumatic brain injury.
Yes.
That's more my side.
Okay.
And it's not the acute, like, stabilization of the patient. It's not the neurosurgery. It's kind of after all of that. After all that, there's still a big gap between where they're coming out of the ICU and then going out into the community.
And trying to be functional. Going back to being a functional person in the community. And that's your focus.
So we bridge that gap. We're kind of helping people relearn to walk and talk and overseeing all their rehabilitation care. The field also includes the physical medicine component, which is more spine, sports medicine, pain. So that would be like sports injuries, spine injuries, the non-surgical part of those treatments.
Of course. So before we go on, I want to ask, so how long is that? How much residency? How much time are you?
So for that track, the education process is very, and training process is a little confusing.
It really is, and that's why I had to really get in the depths of that.
So certain residencies, you have to do 1 year of either a transitional year or preliminary year before you enter the residency.
Okay.
So for me, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm an internal medicine doctor right now for my 1 year.
So you have to do that transitional year.
Yeah, it's called a preliminary year for me. You could also do it as a transitional year where you rotate through like OB-GYN and pediatrics and surgery and medicine. Or you can do it as a focused year on internal medicine or surgery. and then you go into whatever other specialty. This is only for certain specialties that have this.
Of course.
So physical medicine and rehabilitation is one of those specialties that has a 1 year required preliminary or transitional year before then you enter the 3 additional years of training. And then after that, you can do a fellowship. So
you can. So the fellowship is a choice?
Yeah.
And is that a choice you're going to make?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the pros and why would someone choose to do a fellowship versus just jumping on it?
Yeah, so if you want to subspecialize, especially if you want to do clinical research, I think that having a fellowship is good. And if you want to work within a certain subspecialty, it just gives you further training within it.
Wow.
So for me, that would be traumatic brain injury, and it's only a 1 year fellowship.
Okay. I do want to go on and talking about you specifically in the field of being a doctor. But before we get there, I always wanted to know, what is the longest track of becoming if you want to be like the specialist of a subspecialist of a specialist, how much schooling what's the longest path into being? Do you know what question
I don't know.
Yeah, ask?
I don't know what the longest. I mean, I can give you some. Okay, so an example of a very long path.
Yes,
I'll give you an example.
Please do.
So you could go to college after college for 4 years.
Yep.
Then you go into an MD PhD.
Yes.
That's going to make it long. Or you can actually even do something else before you go into your medical school training. So you could do a master's in public health or some sort of other degree. There's kind of an endless amount of degrees you can get. And then when you get into medical school, if you do an MD PhD, that can be 7 years, that could be 8 years. Some people take even longer. It depends on how long they spend on the research component. And then after that, then if you want to choose one of the longest residency programs out, neurosurgery is 7 years.
Wow.
So you could be, you're in your late 30s by the time you're an attending physician, which is the end of your training.
Alissa.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Of course, I know you're not doing it, but
it's very long.
Mind-numbing amounts of research.
Yeah.
I mean, amount of school
training. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
It's long.
So, I just want to pause right there, right? So, I'm a nurse, and I talk about nurses and how great nurses are, and obviously, I believe healthcare is a team, right? And doctors are a huge component, very important necessity part of that team. And I just wanted to just say, it's just hats off, right? Us nurses, we bitch, we complain, we get mad at you guys all the goddamn time. But the respect is definitely due, and I think the way the culture looks at doctors and puts them on a pedestal, I think it's necessary, because to become a doctor, I mean, you heard it yourself. I mean, this is insane. I don't know. I can't. I can't. Hearing it gets me nervous. I can't. So good for you. Just good for you. All right. So let's talk about you specifically in the field of becoming of being a doctor. So this is your first year in that. So this is your transitional year, right? So this is your first year.
Preliminary year.
Preliminary year. So this is your preliminary year, right? So this is the first time you really are. This is your first residency, the first year
as a doctor.
Mm-hmm. So what is that like? I know you had your clinical rotations and all that good stuff, but as a resident, what is that experience like, becoming in your own shoes, taking care of patients? How did that go?
It's been incredible. It's a lot of work. Okay. It's the most I've ever worked. We work a lot.
We talk. Yeah. Why don't you tell us right now? How much do you work?
I mean, I'd say we work on around 80 hours a week. So we get on usually 1 day off a week. So.
Unheard of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not. It's normal.
Well, I mean, so if a regular human being that's not a doctor, I feel like that's just insane. That's insane.
Yeah, I agree.
Insane. No, it's insane.
I think it's difficult to have balance, and for doctors to take care of themselves because of that.
Yes. Do you think it's necessary? Do you think the culture needs to switch so doctors shouldn't be doing that? Because I think it's obviously you want them to get as much work and, experience under their belt so they can become great doctors and save human beings' lives. But at the same time, you also want to make sure it's not the brink of, mind numbness, craziness, burnout, all of that stuff. Do you think it's necessary to do the 80-hour weeks? Is that...
It's hard to say. I think it's hard to say that that's necessary for a very sustained period of time.
Okay.
I think I look at it as this year is actually going to be the hardest.
Okay.
It is, intern year is the hardest. It's, you know, Grey's Anatomy. They're surgical interns. We're not even surgical interns.
Yes.
So I don't know if there's diminishing returns after a certain amount of hours. I would tend to think that at least as doctors advance, I'd say I have a stronger opinion about when people are kind of full-fledged doctors and practicing, and then their hours are still very long compared to other professions.
Most definitely.
And I think that it doesn't leave them enough time to take care of them, like kind of exercise and eat and spend time with their families. I think that balance needs to be there. Whether it needs to be there every single year, or you can tolerate maybe a year or 2 years where you have longer hours.
And just you saying that is, I just want to also touch on this thing. I'm giving a lot of praise to doctors, and yes, it's because you're here and you're a doctor, but it's also because when you say it, it makes it real, right? Because like you see it, like as a nurse, I see it every single day. I see these doctors in and out, and they're there for 12, 16, 24 hours. It's kind of crazy, right? But like you don't understand it until you actually hear it. And I have to say, like the kind of person that becomes a doctor has to be the kind of person that has their shit together, because I don't know too many unhealthy doctors, or I don't know too many doctors that are like insane. Like I feel like doctors have their life together, they're in shape, they do things outside of work, which is mind-blowing to know. It's like you guys are really put together.
I don't know if everyone is that healthy.
At least at Leahy, you doctors at Leahy look good. I mean, you guys are kicking ass. But yeah, no, I think you guys have like life together. At least our perception of it. My perception.
I mean, I think there could be less work hours.
I agree. No, they most definitely should. I think I'm in the camp of saying that 80-hour work week, especially like just getting thrown into that, is absolutely nuts. So what is the average? What's the work week for once you're a full-fledged doctor?
Depends on the specialty. It varies a lot with specialties.
Okay, so we won't get into those nitty-gritty, but what's
for
your
my
specific?
Specialty?
Yeah, your specific.
Probably closer to a 40-hour work week.
Oh, good.
It's much more.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
See, that's good news. There's light at the end of the tunnel, you guys.
Well, I'm very lucky. I was interested in something that had a reasonable work-life balance.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Agreed. And then last thing on this specific thing. It sounds like a lot of work, right? I want to say, do you think that anyone can become a doctor? Or do you think it has to be a specific type of person? Because like I'm in the field I love to believe that anyone can be a nurse, anyone can do healthcare, but I think there's certain temperaments that just I don't think would be able to. Are you in the camp that think anyone can do what you do?
I think certain temperaments are drawn to being a doctor.
Okay.
Like some people just would say that that's crazy. Why would I do that?
Of course.
I think people who are very motivated and drawn to that, and that's truly what they want to do, I think they'll find a way to make it work. It's hard. I mean,
it's super difficult.
It's certainly, and there are I think there are other barriers aside from temperament. I think there's a lot of financial barriers, and in terms of access to education.
Yes.
I think those things are probably bigger issues than temperament.
Good point. Do you financial barriers? Just quick on that. I mean, going to just regular 4-year college, people come out of 4-year colleges with like 60 to like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and then you go into med school, that's another hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt. Do you think we're going into the right direction? Is it just getting worse and worse? Like, I don't want to speak in your specific financial issues, but like your colleagues, the people around you, are they in the same boat you are? Like, how?
Yeah, so I think that, I mean, I don't know about over time, like how much that's changed, but I do think doctors tend to traditionally have a lot of debt and still have a lot of debt. So I think everyone has.
So it's been constant.
Yeah, they have a lot of debt, and I mean, I think you work a good part of your career paying that off, because the other consideration is during all of that time that you were training, you're not making, I mean, until you get out of medical school, you're not actually getting paid for you're paying them, right? So
are you not getting paid right now? No,
I am now. This is my first year of getting paid, right?
Yes.
So,
wow! Oh my God!
Yeah.
Jesus Lord.
So so I did college, medical school. I actually did a master's in public health as well. So I took an extra year.
Oh, you did?
So that's my 9 years after high school of then being in education.
Actually, of not getting paid at all.
Well, I worked aside from that,
Jesus.
like part-time, like completely outside of
Of course.
the career. So that was how I was paid, but you don't get paid for that stuff. And then when you start residency, your salary is considerably lower than it will be when you're an attending doctor, because you're still in training.
Yes.
And in terms of like comparing the salary that you're making to the amount of debt that you probably have, it's kind of insane.
It's
so
ridiculous.
They have all these repayment plans and everything. Yeah.
For doctors specifically.
Yeah.
You guys need it.
Yeah.
You guys definitely need it. I mean, you guys going to be paying them loans for who God knows how long.
Long time.
Right? Did you hear about that? Because I do nursing news and I do this a little bit. And I think it was last year, a huge story came out that NYU was going to start paying, allowing med students free.
Yeah.
Right? Is that real? Is NYU the only place?
I feel like someone else. I have to admit I haven't stayed up on that story,
but I think that was I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That is brilliant, because I feel like a huge part of a lot of people being like, I can't afford to get into med school. So if NYU is like, yeah, we will pay for all med students, and that's huge because yes, there's a shortage of nurses, but there's a shortage of doctors as well. And we need doctors. And that's why after they're done everything, you guys need to get paid really well. The amount of work you need to put into it is insane. NYU, good for you. I still think that's a absolutely great story. Great story. Last thing on the education. But like, this is the actual being a doctor thing. Break down like the residency, internship, attending. What's the hierarchy?
Yeah.
Who is the top dog in the situation?
Yeah, so the first year residents are called interns.
Okay.
So your first year is your internship year, you're an intern.
Okay.
And then after that you're a resident. So you could be, depending on how many years your residency is, you would be like so we call it PGY, postgraduate year.
Yes.
So PGY1. I don't know if you ever heard that term.
I've heard it used, but I never understood it.
So my badge says PGY1 because I'm my first year of postgraduate year training.
Yes.
So that's the intern year, and then after that you're a resident, and then after that, if you choose to, you can become a fellow, and so they're above residents, and then after that you'll be an attending.
And attending is
the
top notch.
Yeah.
So get all the answers. Okay, so now let's talk about you being a doctor, all right? And the reason so I've asked maybe 3 doctors at Leahy, and I don't want to put you on blast, but I'm waiting. I'm still waiting because I'd love to have you on. But the reason I asked you to come on is because when I don't ask everybody to come on the show. It might seem like it, but I really don't. I ask the people I really think are doing things well, specifically in the field of what they're doing. And the first thing I noticed about you, and I'm as honest as possible, your communication with the nurses is amazing. The doctors at Leahy, you guys are great. And I feel lucky because I've just been and I had experiences with amazing doctors throughout my time as a nurse. I've only been a nurse 2.5 years, 2-ish years. But throughout that time, I've had amazing experiences with the doctors I've had. But your communication with the nurses is fabulous. I've been doing nights for 2-3 weeks, and you talk to me more than the doctors in the daytime talk to me, specifically about my patients. Seriously, you come to me, you ask me specifically about a specific patient, you already know who we're talking about, you want to know the details, you ask if I have any questions, you ask if I have any recommendations, and yes, it's important to do, but it's also very nice to know that, yes, what I'm doing matters to the actual plan that you guys are going to put through, like the actual orders. So I think that's very, very good. Is that something you were just taught? Did it just come natural? Do all the doctors do that? The answer is no. I'm not even going to let her answer that question. The answer is no. But the communication is just, how did you set that?
I am a big believer in communication, like as just a personal level.
Yes.
And in the professional level, I think it's so important. And I think that the system is not always set up to facilitate communication.
No.
And I think that's a big part of the issue. It's something that I've identified. I mean, I think it has a big impact on patient care, how much doctors and communicate with all the members of the care team.
Yes.
Like, communication is key. It's really important to be communicating with case managers, nurses, social workers, physical therapists. Everyone's a part of the team. And I think that communication, when everyone's so busy and running around,
yes.
Especially if you are caring for patients on different floors, if you have kind of a big list, I think it's really challenging. It's logistically challenging.
It really is. No, it is. And I just want you to give a scope of how challenging it is. So how many patients? So I know you. Are you doing nights the entire time?
Right.
Or, so how does that?
How does my schedule work?
Yeah, how does your schedule work?
I do about 10 weeks of nights. So 8 of them are floor.
10 weeks a year?
Yeah, this year.
This year.
And then in rehab it's different.
Okay.
But it's in internal medicine. I'm an internal medicine intern.
Yes.
So I'll do, my schedule happens to have about 10 weeks, which is the most out of anyone in my class.
That's insane.
But 2 of those weeks are critical care. So those are in the ICU.
Okay.
So ICU nights. And then the other nights I'm covering 4 lists. So last week I was covering hematology, oncology, one of the medicine lists, and then the cardiology list. So.
And how many patients is like on your like when you're covering cardiology? How many patients are you responsible for?
I forget how for cardiology their
Yes.
list is probably maybe around 15 patients.
Okay.
Or maybe it's 10. Because they have some in the the cardiac ICU.
Of course.
So I think my list was only around maybe 25 patients last week on nights. So I was covering about 25 patients at night. Wow. And then during the day, we cover up to 10 patients per person, depending on the service that you're on.
And is that doable? Because I know from a nurse, like I know our jobs are entirely different because we're delivering the care and you guys are putting in the plan, like you guys are putting in the orders. So obviously it's different. But I feel like still that's a ton of human beings and like making sure everything is getting done for every single one. Is it doable? Is 10 to 15 patients doable? Is that...
It depends. Well, so at night, I would say that the 25 or so at night is very doable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because less happens during the night.
Yes.
Right. So we don't round on the patients with the attending the way that we do during the day.
Yes.
We don't write notes on the patients. The workflow is completely different at night.
Okay.
So nights, I think there's enough. It's doable. I think if you had multiple very sick patients,
then it gets a little...
Right. But you can't really, just the number doesn't tell you what that list is.
Yeah.
And it can vary a lot. So you may have people that you're sending to the ICU or patients who are coding, and then that makes that many patients
a little more
less manageable. But course. I think it was manageable last week.
Yes, and then in the daytime, do you think the 10 is that doable?
I think
or is that very different?
10 is a lot.
It is,
and it's hard because you write notes on all of them, and then you have discharges and admissions, so you have you have the turnover. I think that's what makes it hard during the day, especially on internal medicine wards where each day you're going to get 1 admission, then 2 admissions the next day, then 3 admissions the next day, and then you keep...
As a first-year resident, so let's close out this MD talk. As a first-year resident, I want you to tell me, what do you find the most difficult and what do you enjoy the most as a first-year resident?
Okay. I think that I enjoy my work. I enjoy actually practicing medicine. And this is the first time my first year as a doctor, having patients that I'm responsible for and taking care of them. I love interacting with patients. I love taking care of them. I love actually doing that on the ground.
Of course. And I think that is probably like the thing that makes most sense because like it's very different for nursing, but I have to say, like, that's what I was most excited for, like, the first time I was on the floor doing my own thing, right? Like, you're just like, yes, I'm finally doing it, right? Like, I'm finally in it. So it makes the most sense. But with that being said, where are the shortcomings? Like, what is the most difficult? What do you find super hard?
I think the most difficult is the amount of hours that you're working and trying to find balance.
Agreed.
Like, to maintain a balanced life, to exercise, spend time with my family, friends, like be a normal person, I guess. So I think that's the most challenging thing.
That's the most challenging. So we know what she enjoys. We went through her actual schooling. We went real deep in what's a doctor's job at the hospital. Let's talk about what you have done outside of being a doctor, right? So I want you to tell me, because I have to be honest, I didn't do the necessary background check on the situation. So you have, is it a charity? And what is it that you doing? Please, just explain, because I can't even ask the question because I don't know what to ask.
It's okay.
What's the situation?
So I do a lot of work with the brain injury community, and that's something I mentioned started when I was an undergraduate. I guess I'll just start from the beginning. When I was an undergrad, I was part of a student organization that provided provide a place for people with brain injuries in Boston to connect with one another.
What was the organization? Do you remember?
It's called Brain Trust. It's a student organization.
Yes.
Yeah, a student service organization serves people with brain injury in Boston, and we would host social events for them to come together and connect with one another.
You said, so MIT, not Stanford.
At
MIT. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't know that much about brain injury before, but I learned, I had an interest in medicine. I was interested in neuroscience, and then kind of seeing what does that mean in practice for people, like when they have a brain injury or when they're dealing with a chronic neurological condition. And it can be really, really isolating. It can be really hard for them because often they have deficits that are lingering from their injury, and it may be completely invisible to everyone around them. Yes. Like a lot of people won't necessarily know that they had a brain injury, but they'll know, and they know that there are things that they've carried with them from that, and they're different in terms of their functions maybe than they were before. So connecting with other people who had a similar experience was really powerful for them. And this is all something that I found. The group was already there before I got there. I joined the group, and I just saw how powerful that community was for them and how important it was for them in moving on and moving through their injury.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's real. That's I love when people give back to the community, and sometimes it's difficult because sometimes the way people want to give back is not what the community needs. But for this specific community, for like a brain injury folks, people who have gone through that process, it's very necessary. It's the hardest thing to go from living your daily life, having a stroke, and then having half of your body not function the way it used to, having a speech impediment, having memory loss, all of these things. It's like you normal, and then in a hot second, you're not, right? And like you have the rest of your life, you need to compensate for that. So it's just great. So that's what made you decide you wanted to go into, what's it called?
To traumatic brain injury.
Traumatic brain injury. So then you started your own.
Yeah, so then when I got to Stanford, I saw that there wasn't a group like that for people with brain injury in the area. And so I started a student organization at Stanford called Synapse. Stanford Synapse. Yeah, so it was based on the MIT Brain Trust, which was that group. But Stanford Synapse was a little bit of a new twist on it. We had peer support group meetings, still do. They have peer support group meetings twice a month. And then supplemented by other social activities. So going to a museum, you did like paintings in the cactus garden. They do all these different fun things.
That's fun.
But it's they built a community there, and now they've been there maybe a little bit more than 3 years. There's a really strong group of students who are leading that. And they host all of these events for the community, and they say it's like a family, the people who are involved in it.
And it can become that way, because I used to work, and I'll touch on that in a little bit, but I just want to say, are you still connected? Are you still running it? Do you have any ownership of the group? Do you donate your time, your money? Like, what do you still do with Synapse? Or is it like you created it was your child, and now it's grown, and you like to just see it do its thing?
No, yeah, the story's not over yet. So,
of course not.
So then,
I didn't think for a second it was.
I knew this was a need. This is really a need within the community,
yes.
I think. And I was looking, it was surprising to me, even from back when I was an undergrad, that a student organization was fulfilling that need for the brain injury community. No one else was really, there's limited resources for them.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not that no one else is. There are some resources, but our community, our student organization was still very much needed by them and appreciated. So I realized, and then when I went to Stanford, which is it's a very well-resourced community, Palo Alto, it's very nice there. Mm-hmm. And I would expect them to have a lot of resources compared to other places, and they still didn't have.
So you could only imagine what
other places so it's not something that a lot of people are focused on. So then I wanted to expand it nationally, and I decided to take an extra year during medical school. And I went and did my master's in public health, and I studied health management, which is kind of a business, of a business spin on public health.
And where during medical school?
Between my third and fourth year.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So I actually moved back to Massachusetts. Back to Boston.
And then you went back for your fourth?
Yeah, and then I moved back. So I moved back and forth across the country a little bit. But I was at the Harvard School of Public Health, and they have an incredible amount of resources. I had incredible mentors there.
Wait, so you're saying you got your is it at Harvard?
Yeah.
So we're talking MIT, Stanford, and Harvard.
Yeah.
Alyssa, stop. Alyssa, stop. You're amazing.
I've been really fortunate to have a lot of opportunities.
Stop with the modesty. You're not fortunate to get into Harvard. You're smart. You're a genius. You're top notch. Look at that, dirt off the shoulder. Good for you, Alyssa. Oh my God.
So,
all right. Yes.
So I mean, I loved the Harvard School of Public Health. They're incredible.
I'm sure they are.
And I learned so much there, and I had a lot of great business mentors. And so I established a nonprofit organization called Synapse, which we're still in the process of officially filing for nonprofit recognition. So
that's the entire process.
Incorporating, so we're incorporating now, actually.
Good for you.
But we basically started accepting applications from students from other colleges who wanted to establish chapters.
So that's the plan. So like, what is the plan moving forward?
Yeah.
Is it going to be college based and then move into the community, or is it going to be entirely outside of college and it's going to be its own thing?
So that's a good question. So it's college based in the sense that it's student organizations. So it's all undergraduates who run these support groups, but they're supporting individuals in their community, not just the college community.
Okay.
The whole city around them, or the multiple cities that are around their college. So they're offering that resource for people in their areas. We had about 100 students apply the first year, and we accepted 5. So we established 5 more chapters in addition to the Stanford MIT chapters that we had. So right now we're on our 3rd application cycle. So we have 11 chapters right now. And we are accepting, I think we're going to accept 6 more. We just had our meeting last night. So I think we're going to accept 6 more this cycle, which will put us at 17 chapters. That's amazing. In the coming year.
So this is really growing. This is moving.
It's moving. Along. It's moving.
It's coming along.
It's needed. We need to grow.
It's most definitely coming along. And I love it. I think, so you're saying, so like, if this were to come to like the highest aspiration you've had for the Synapse nonprofit, what would the ultimate, what do you see it at its highest accomplishment?
I think I would ideally like to offer support to more communities. So as many communities as that's possible in. I don't know if that's 50, if that's 100.
However big that number can get, if it's still being functional.
Because I think anyone with a brain injury, or most people, could really benefit from having that sort of. That's the feedback I've gotten. I mean, I didn't come up with this model in a vacuum. I've always sought a lot of feedback from the people in the community, people with brain injuries, with post-concussion syndrome, and they're so enthusiastic about this resource and the fact that we need more of it. I think that's very telling to me.
I think it's super important that, of course, you're helping the group of people from the community from brain injuries, but you get their, perspective, what they need, what they want.
Well, it's pointless otherwise, right?
Exactly,
what am I doing?
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that you do that. I think it's super important, and a lot of nonprofits should take that initiative, and that should be the number one thing you do, right? Like, what do you guys need, and how can we help you get that, right? I love that that's what you're doing. The fact that you guys are doing it, starting from a college student base and then helping the community around it, it's really, really nice because college students have free time. College students want to do things. And I have to just be honest, yes, it also looks good on their resume. But, does that help you financially or does that hurt? Because I know that there's usually a swell, you'll have a good group of students who want to help. And then the next year it might not be as many. Is that something that you guys think about? Or do you just have continuous people that are not part of the college handle the entire organization in the colleges that it's based in?
So the way that we're structured, and Synapse National it's all volunteers right now. Okay. So we're completely volunteer. Okay. And it's myself, and I wish we keep growing our national team. But it's all people who have been members of the chapters. So members of the Stanford chapter, yes. Members of the MIT chapter, people who want to continue to be involved on a bigger level. That's what's composed our national team thus far. So we provide training and support for all the chapters. And we also provide quality control and make sure that they're offering peer support and meeting our standards. And we hold them to a certain set of requirements.
So is there ever, because it's all volunteer based, is there ever a need for fundraising?
I mean, I think huge need. I think that will eventually, we'll grow to a size where we will no longer be volunteer based.
Yes, of course.
I think then that's part of the transitioning from like incorporating and transitioning to having paid employees. I think we're still a couple years at least out from that. I think that we can handle it right now as volunteers. But I mean, I have to say we're really fortunate to have an incredibly dedicated team because we're all volunteering our time
and I think
and doing this.
Yeah, and that's huge because you guys are all volunteers. I mean, like, you don't get paid for it. It's not something that, like, it's huge. It's being a volunteer, especially for situations like this, dealing with this community. It's huge. So thank you and everyone that's a part of it. For all the new chapters that are coming along, the 6 along, the 17 in total. You guys are awesome. Good for you, Synapse. Where can we find it and how can we help?
So we have a website, synapsenational.com
It's going to be on the screen somewhere.
synapsenational.org.
You're all right. We'll figure it out. It'll be on the screen.
And once you can, I think for now you can try and locate, you can find if there's a chapter near you.
Yeah.
And look into getting involved, especially if you're a college student, or if you're a college student and you don't have a chapter at your university, you can apply to found one. Our application cycle runs from August to November every year. And then eventually we'll be able to, once we have 501c3 nonprofit status, then we'll be able to donate on our website. Yeah.
Don't think for one hot second I'm gonna let you forget. I'll remind you when it pops up. I'll let y'all know when to start donating. Of course.
But you can certainly donate to support your local chapters if you have them as well, because they host fundraisers.
That's awesome. All right. So Alissa, I've had you on for forever, right? So I know, but I am super appreciative of this because I think it's important. The fact that you're the first doctor I have on, I get to ask all the questions I really wanted to ask. But so we've talked about your career, right? You're doing amazing things as a doctor. The future looks bright. Good for you. You talked about your schooling. We talked about what you're doing to give back to the community. But Alissa, I need to ask, what are you doing for Alissa? What brings joy to your life? And I'm gonna spoiler alert. I'm gonna break the news for you. She loves food.
I do.
She likes donuts. Oh my god!
I love food so much. Yeah,
that's wild. So because you can obviously you can see her. She's in shape. And like I'm gonna put the pictures of her Insta. Please go follow her. It's amazing. It's like the most colorful, greatest, most delicious food I've ever seen. But like all of that food you post, all the food you eat, it does not look healthy. But you look great, all right? So let's talk about the food first, and then we'll ask how do you make sure that you're not 1,000 pounds.
Yeah. So I exercise a lot. I love exercise, though. It's my stress relief.
There you go.
So I do over an hour of cardio almost every day. But
did you already get it done today, or are you planning on getting it?
No, I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it yet, but it will be done. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that.
So I love cardio, so that helps a lot. But I don't eat like that all the time. Okay. I eat like that. I eat pretty healthy. Okay. And I watch when I'm eating. Okay. And then I'll have days where I just eat really amazing. Those like splurge days. Okay. Where I eat.
And are your splurge days, you set it up so like I am going to eat something very, very delicious, or my splurge day is from morning to when I fall asleep, I get to eat whatever I want, however much I want?
It's more like I'm going to eat something very, very delicious and not worry about how much I'm eating that day, because usually very, very delicious food has a lot of calories in it. Yes. So
and I wanted to so talk to me about the foodie thing before we get into the health aspect of it. When did you get that love for it? Because like, yes, I know everybody, I take pictures of my food, but like I take it because like it's be a specific situation. But your Insta is about food, and I love it. It's super colorful, just right off the bat. There's just the colors. I just love the colors. But when did you start that, and why?
I think I started taking pictures of food. So my two best friends and I, we love food. We love food. So it's a social thing too. Good. Like and all my other friends. Like basically if you're my friend, you have to like enjoy food. Yeah, there's gonna be food involved, right? Yes. So I think I started taking pictures of food maybe in college, but I have progressively gotten more and more into it, and it's become more of kind of an artistic thing for me. And I started following other food Instagrams and getting kind of inspiration. And in medical school, it just became more and more of a creative outlet for me as I had less and less kind of time as the clinical duties encroached on my time. It was really nice to have something completely different, a creative outlet. And I did that through the food photography.
That's awesome.
And I also I love the experience of food. I love that you
food?
share it with people. Like, it's something to connect over. Yeah. And food's always been important to my family. We love food. Like, food has always been something near and dear to my heart. So, and then, yeah, go ahead.
No. So I just wanted to know, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but is food, like, are you cooking? Do you bake? Do you do any of that?
I don't make
or do you
it.
just enjoy
Yeah,
it?
I don't make it. So I have great cooks in my family. I'm very lucky. And my sister is, she bakes a lot, actually. She baked all the pies for Christmas.
That's
and she
helpful.
does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
But my food is mostly food from restaurants.
There you go.
So food that I'll go out and I'll research. I'll see like, where are the best donut places in New York, is because I'm going to New York this weekend. So I've been doing a lot of research on New York donuts. So I mean, that's fun for me. I love it.
I've never heard that sentence in the history of my life. I've been doing research on donuts.
Yeah, I mean,
that's amazing.
So I mean, you have to find the best donuts.
Of course.
That's the other part of it being a splurge day. It's something special. It's something that I put a lot of thought and effort into, and I'm gonna pick someplace that's worth going.
It's not going to be Dunkin's.
No,
that's not an option.
No.
Okay, so you're a doctor. I'm a nurse. I have to talk about the health aspect of this, right? Because you do, like, it sounds like you have a healthy relationship with food, where you do have your splurge day, but for the most part, you stay healthy. Like, is there a specific diet, or do you just watch what you eat and you try to be like, just commonsensical about the food you eat? Because, like, that's the way I go about it, right? Like, I'm not counting my carbs, macros, and all this crazy nonsense. I'm just like, is this a healthy thing for me to eat? Yes, eat it. No, let's have a little bit of it. No, let's not do it today. How do you go about your diet, or is there very specific?
For me, it's just counting. I do count calories.
You do count your calories? Do you honestly do?
Yeah, I do.
That's wild to me.
Why?
I feel like I just couldn't keep up.
Well, there's the apps. They have apps for it.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing it?
Counting? I don't know. Maybe 3 years. Years. Probably.
So now it's just
I'm not like on a diet or anything. I just like to pay attention to the amount that I'm eating.
Oh, good for you.
So I do not on splurge days.
Yeah.
I don't count on splurge days.
Don't count on splurge days. You don't want to do that to your ego.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to know, just to know how.
See, it is probably a good thing, because maybe I should just count just for like a couple of days to know how bad I am being, because like I know that I'm not great, but like I'm not horrible. But you're right. It would be nice to actually know.
I think it just depends on your goal too. Like, I'd like to maintain my weight. So I think that knowing that I'm eating and exercising and it's balancing out to net even is helpful.
And so your lifestyle. So I'm just saying, because like you said you do an hour of cardio a day. Mm-hmm. An hour of cardio a day is a lot of working out. And when you say cardio, do you mean like, jumping jacks,
elliptical or running? Just a straight up elliptical or straight row running. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I love it. I really enjoy cardio.
And that's
addictive.
Great. And it's good to know that you actually enjoy it. I mean that's key, because I find that to be the hugest thing. It's we just finished New Year's and everyone's resolution. I went to the gym the other day. Literally, I've never seen it more full in the history of my life. And I'm like, geez, and Lord mercy, like 3 weeks ago, none of you. I see none of you here. So like, if you don't enjoy it, it's only going to last a week. It's only going to last 3 days. So enjoying it, I think, is key. It's a major key.
I think it's important to find something that you enjoy.
Exactly.
That is active. So
it's important. It really, really, really is important. But you just count the calories and then you just try to eat smart. Like, do you meal prep? Do you do anything specific like that?
I have interesting eating habits, I would say. All the other co-residents are always very entertained. I'm a grazer.
What does that mean?
So I don't eat meals really while I'm at work. I just keep food in my snacks in my pocket, and then we'll perpetually just be eating
Are you
snacks.
Serious?
No, I'm very serious. Yeah, I'm serious.
Oh my God.
I eat a lot of pretzels. Like, it's not the best stuff necessarily, but it does the job. I like having eating more constantly throughout the day rather than eating one big meal, because I think it makes me more tired when I do that.
Respect.
And sometimes I'll eat dinner, but that's the only.
So you're like really hardcore, not
grazing, like a grazer. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Was this a problem when you were younger? Like, is this something you've always wanted to do? Because, like, I know mealtime in families is a big deal.
I don't think I didn't have an issue with that when I was younger.
Okay, so you became a grazer, but like as a kid, you would eat full meals.
I mean, we had snacks too. My family, I think they graze a decent amount compared to like we're not just strictly like mealtime. Yeah. Like I think we have more of a like influx. Like I think we're more flexible with our eating schedule. Cool and I just took that to an extreme, and now I'm just I'm a grazer.
You're a grazer.
So,
Alissa, I think it was an absolute pleasure having you on. I got a lot of the questions I wanted to get out speaking to a doctor, which I think is super, super important. I love your background, and I love what you're doing. And like I said, continue with that communication, because for us nurses, from a nurse's perspective, that is the hugest barrier when it comes to like the relationship between doctors and nurses. I know you guys have 25 patients a night. I know you guys have 10 to 15. But if we just don't have just that, like that literally is like a minute conversation of what's going on today and the plan moving forward, it's really, really difficult to feel like what I'm doing matters. And so like I'm involved. So when the patient asks me a question, I can actually give them an answer and not say, I don't know, I have to page a doctor and wait for them. So thank you for that. You have super interest. Good luck with Synapse. Good luck with the rest of your residency. Good luck with becoming the greatest brain injury doctor in the history of the world. I think it's amazing. And yeah, I think that's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's a pleasure.